Hello, everybody. For this episode, I am going to discuss the 5 best candidates for MLB expansion. The discussion about expanding is heating up more than ever. It seems like the league is going to go to 32 teams somewhere in the near future here. So, in this episode, I am going to discuss the 5 best candidates from number 5 to number 1. And before I start, I'm going to tell you why I don't have 2 of the most commonly discussed locations on here. I don't believe Montreal should get another team, as they've already had a failed proof of concept with the Expos. Even with a new ballpark, I think in the long run it would just be the same as before. I also don't have Portland on here because I think that the Seattle Mariners fan base is a little bit too established there for it to do really well with a new team. I also believe the city of Portland is at a crossroads politically and population-wise. Without getting too deep into it, it's having issues, and it has recorded recently population losses for the first time in a very long time. It's not to say that it can't have a team, it's just that the city's future is a little bit more questionable than these other cities. So starting off with number 5, I have Sacramento, California. This is the 26th largest metro in the country. It only has an NBA team as far as the Big Four sports leagues are concerned. With the metro having around 2.4 million people, along with the city itself having double-digit population percentage growth every decade since 1980, it makes a strong case for a team in a state that is otherwise losing people. I also think there'll be somewhat of a void for MLB in the region with the Oakland A's moving to Las Vegas, so it could be a good opportunity. Next, I have Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, despite the city population being quite small at 200,000, the combined statistical area population, which represents more of the region around Salt Lake City, is around 2.7 million. Utah's a little bit more unusual with its population distribution, as most people in the state live right down the middle of the state and in the areas connected to the Salt Lake City metro. So most of the state's entire population is in the vicinity or within about 50 to 100 miles. And if we're just talking about the metro itself, it has grown at double-digit percentage population growth all but 1 decade since 1900. And in Salt Lake City, you would be hundreds and hundreds of miles away from the nearest MLB teams, meaning competition with other teams for fans is quite distant. Next, we'll go east with Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, you might be wondering why Raleigh and not Charlotte. Well, if they went to Charlotte, they would have to compete for fans with the Panthers and the Bobcats, which is not necessarily a problem, but you would also be significantly closer to Atlanta, which does have an MLB team. While in Raleigh, you only have the NHL's Hurricanes. But more importantly, Raleigh itself is quite large, with 1.4 million people in its metro. But aside from that, teams are generally regional draws, and there is a lot of population surrounding Raleigh, with Durham, Fayetteville, and Greensboro all within an hour-and-a-half's drive. With all of those metros combined, you have over 3 million people. The team could also go the route of other Carolina teams in having the name of the state in its name, appealing to Charlotte and potentially South Carolina as well. And it's definitely possible that the team and its stadium could appeal as a tourist destination for away fans, as many people from around the country go to the nearby Carolina coast for vacation. For number 2, I have a fairly obvious choice here in Austin, Texas. This is the second largest city in the U.S. without a major pro sports team in the Big Four leagues. Just the pure city itself has added over 300,000 people since 2000. Just the city itself will soon likely hit over 1 million people. And just based on the future growth potential alone, this is just one of the best potential choices to have an expansion franchise. I don't really think that having 3 teams in the state would be much of an issue. The 2 existing MLB markets in Texas are fairly distanced from Austin, and you could also definitely likely gain fans from the San Antonio market in Austin, which isn't that far from Austin, and also does not have an MLB team. Austin really is just getting too big to not have a sports team in either MLB, NFL, NBA, or NHL. However, if they were to go through with this, they would almost certainly have to have a dome given the heat there. And number 1 is Nashville. Probably not a big surprise here, but definitely the best candidate. It's a large city with high growth. It's now over 700,000 people. It's a party city and a tourism destination, which bodes well for visiting fans to go there. Its climate is mild, which would help it at the gate, and the city and players seem to want it to happen. And if they could brand it with the whole state, like the Tennessee Titans do, it could draw well from other high-populated areas of Tennessee, such as Chattanooga and Knoxville, and possibly more distant ones without an MLB team like Memphis. And other than Atlanta, there really isn't a team within any reasonable distance to Nashville. No other teams in Tennessee, no teams in Kentucky, no teams in Carolina, no teams in Alabama, Mississippi. It just makes the most sense. So let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.